Okay, I'm going to play a few songs off my album that I'm recording. And a couple others maybe. We'll see how it goes. But first of all, big thank you to Hannah for that amazing set. I love her new song there. I'm stealing it. And thanks to Melissa and the library for having us all here today. She came down from the deserts up in the territory. She had that red dirt in her veins. When I first saw her, I was working on the fishing boats. I pulled the troll nets out of Moreton Bay. And she and I lay out on that rolling deck one evening, watching the sun go down. That big red continent blazing away to the west. In Ruby's eyes I drowned. But she wasn't sticking round, and I knew it all too well. Still it cut me deep to watch her go. She was headed down to Sydney with the dream in her heart, to wash the sulking dust out of her clothes. And the work took me down to South Australia digging opals. Sometimes we'd stay out there for months. Out where the flies would drink the moisture right out from your eyes, and the dust would ball up in your gut. We'd drill and dig and sort, and drill and dig and sort some more, through the blistering heat of those days. I'd go to sleep at night and see the pale blue light of them stones shining up through the ancient clay. Then I headed out west, blasting diamonds in the Kimberley. Got my mind filled up there with rock dust and diesel fumes. Getting weighed down with the passing of each season, making money in a red dirt tomb. And I got in a fight one night in a Kununurra tavern. Broke a man's jaw fighting drunk on drunk. They gave me 2 weeks' pay and a ticket down to Perth City. Spent about a month there getting messed up. Finally I washed up in a hovel on the south side of town with no money and a poison in my soul. But her eyes still shine through the darkness of my mind, like diamonds among the coal. Now it's 3,000 miles from the west coast to the east, through the desert of this country, and I'm skin and bone. And there's no place on this planet I'd with any sadness part, but it's Ruby's red heart that calls me home. And it's 3,000 miles from the west coast to the east, through the desert of this country, and I'm all alone. Seems I spent half my life out here in the dust, digging in vain for precious stone. Thank you very much. A little bit better. Probably didn't need to do that. This is a country song after all. Probably would have gotten away with it. It's a country song about drinking. Call it This Ain't Getting Me High. I walk around in circles every hour or two. Like the long hand on a clock, I'm always running into you. So to the bottle I turn for these memories to burn, but hard as I try, this ain't getting me high. Hard as I drink, my mind still thinks, hurt as it might, my heart still beats. This old bottle holds no relief for me tonight. Hard as I try to get away on another mental holiday, I find that I just can't escape. And hard as I try, just can't fly away. Well, I searched all across the ceiling, looking for my long-lost sense of well-being, but I just can't find the door to my happiness no more. Hard as I try, this ain't getting me high. Hard as I drink, my mind still thinks, hurt as it might, my heart still beats. This old bottle holds no relief for me tonight. Hard as I try to get away on another mental holiday, I find that I just can't escape. And hard as I try, just can't fly away. Well, it must be somewhere to be found up here, that thing that keeps me climbing up these liquid stairs. But all I find is memories and alcoholic tears. Hard as I try, this ain't getting me high. Hard as I drink, my mind still thinks, hurt as it might, my heart still beats. This old bottle holds no relief for me tonight. Hard as I try to get away on another mental holiday, I find that I just can't escape. And hard as I try, just can't fly away. Hard as I try, this ain't getting me high. I haven't played this one for a while. It's quite a hard one, so I'm sorry if I muck it up, but we're going out to Port Chalmers after this, so I thought I'd play my Port Chalmers song about the Port Chalmers cat. This cat that went missing and was eventually found hanging out in the pub, Chick's Hotel, where we were going to play tonight. Cat's name was Zephyr. I guess you could say I've got a taste for the night, but the zephyr in my soul don't sleep too well, and so I walk out in the chemical lights with those ghosts down at the harbour side. Those ghosts that rise to meet me from the rusted dirt this town's built upon, and their voices call to me from the stone and steel that it's made of. I see the drunks from the town bars tumbling into the dark. I hear the rhythm of sweet music in my heart. sorry, darling, I didn't mean to go so long. I'm sorry, baby, I didn't mean to make you cry, cry, cry. But when I hear that night train whistle howling like a siren, Lord knows I gotta keep on moving. I gotta keep on. I guess you could say I got a taste for the night, but the zephyr in my soul don't sleep too well, and so I walk out in those chemical lights with the ghost down at the harbor side. The song's called The Funerals of Strangers. The funerals of strangers are loose stepping stones when the praying is over. I stand there alone and weep for the stranger I never have known. Oh, Father, lift me up. I stand in the corner and drink my cup of tea. I take an asparagus roll and a hot savory, but I'm always careful not to take too many. Oh, Father, lift me up. All of these days under the sun, all of these strangers' funerals blend into one. Dear souls departed, off to heaven have flown. One of these days I'm gonna have one of my own. I should have told you that I read about a US senator, or was a US politician, that made a habit of going to people's funerals that he didn't know. But I thought, that's not a bad kind of a thing, you know? All those sandwiches and all that free beer. Who's ever going to know? The song's called Shenandoah. It's a song about the Shenandoah River in Murchison. Anyone been up that way? Nelson, Murchison region? Yeah. It's a river up there called the Shenandoah, and it shares its name with the Shenandoah River in the state of Virginia in America. And this is the rough story about how that came to be. I say rough because it's somewhat involves the use of poetic license. involves a character called George Fairweather Moonlight. Me and Tom grew up on the North Scottish coast. When the herring fish ran to the docks we would go, make us a living on those fishing boats, our hands cold and numb from the ropes. We never sat in no classroom, our school was the sea. And Tom he said, "Captain, moonlight you'll be." Me and Tom sailed on the brig Eliza to look for the gold out in California. We sailed many miles, we travelled so far, till we stood on the banks of the Shenandoah. And Tommy said, "Brother, this'll do me, 'cause I had just enough of this wandering." Midnight, the stars of Virginia shine down all across the Shenandoah River. In the good ground at the riverside, I will build me a home and take me a wife, said my brother Tom that night. So I bid him farewell and I shook his hand. I sailed for the islands of New Zealand. I found there a place that was wild and untamed, with rivers and mountains still yet to be named. And I had not a dime, I was thin as a ghost, when I headed out for the west coast. But the years quickly flew, seemed the richer I'd get. I got a nugget up the grey, was the biggest one yet. And not a day went, I didn't think about Tom, as I made my way north up to Murchison. And I met a man there in the commercial bar, a miner who'd come from the Shenandoah. Midnight, the stars of Virginia shine down all across the Shenandoah River. In the good ground at the riverside, my brother Tommy laid down his good life, fighting on the Union side. So I walked for a week to a place where I knew a wild and dark river wound its way through, a place that no other white man ever knew. I called it Shenandoah, Tom, I named it for you. And there by the water, wide, deep and brown, I let my tears tumble down. Midnight, the stars of Virginia shine down all across the Shenandoah River. In the good ground at the riverside is as good a place as any for a free man to lie, like my brother Tom and I. Midnight, those stars of Virginia shine down all across the Shenandoah River. In the good ground at the riverside is as good a place as any for a free man to lie, like my brother Tom and I. Like my brother Tom and I. You guys going to Chris Christopherson tomorrow? I am. I grew up listening to Chris. I'm really excited. Have we got time? One or two more? Okay, cool. Sorry about the tuning. Okay, one's called The Day the Stock Trucks Came. The old man wore his shirt full of holes and his hat just like any other day. But I can't forget how he carried himself on the day the stock trucks came. On the day the stock trucks came, shifting up a storm on the dusty lane. I could not believe how much he'd aged on the day the stock trucks came. About lunchtime he said, "Boys, it looks like rain. It's just got that feel about it." So he called up his dogs and they went off again to bring in the last of them. On the day the stock trucks came, shifting up a storm on the dusty lane. They got the last ones loaded up just before it rained on the day the stock trucks came. The stock agent wiped the dirt from his shoes when he came down to witness the sale. Dad put on the jug, got some biscuits from the cupboard. They did the paperwork at the table. On the day the stock trucks came, shifting up a storm on the dusty lane. He shook the agent's hand and then he walked away on the day the stock trucks came. On the day the stock trucks came, churning up the mud in the loading bay. He was nowhere to be seen when they drove away on the day the stock trucks came. Yeah, he walked the boundary till darkness came, after those stock trucks drove away. This is my last song. It's called Little Green Fern Plants. Thanks to everyone, and got some CDs there if anyone wants. Just come and see me after the show. Catch you later. Little green fern plants line the way where you walk today, under heavy hanging beech branches, and through the rain you leave behind the woes of this world and leave all this trouble behind you, and carry on to the head of the valley, carry on up the line. Push your way up through the bush, you leave the river behind. Come out in the tussock basins, high above the tree line. You leave behind the woes of this world and leave all this trouble behind you, and carry on to the head of the valley, and carry on up the line. Moving up through the rainbow grasses where there is no track, feel the warm sun strike your shoulder as the clouds roll back. Standing now on the ridgeline, you see the world below, 1,000 peaks gleaming in the sun. There's nowhere now that you can't go. You leave behind the woes of this world and leave all this trouble behind you, and carry on to the head of the valley, you carry on up the line. Leave behind the walls of this world and leave all this trouble behind you. And carry on to the head of the valley, you carry on across the divide. Leave behind the walls of this world and leave all this trouble behind. Thank you.